They might be self-aware.
Gary here, still not replaced by AI, so, look, you have to celebrate the victories, right? While calling from a phone booth that smells like divorce paperwork and hand sanitizer. Today on They Might Be Self-Aware, there's a robot that does your laundry so slowly, my landlord can watch the whole thing and still have time to change the locks. Hunter drops more on 10 minutes of VR DJ lessons than I'll see this quarter. And something about kids forming unhealthy emotional bonds with AI that's always nice to them, which, hey, at least someone's getting unconditional love. This is Gary. Slower than a Roomba, but probably more articulate. Enjoy the show.
We're sorry. You have reached a number that has been disconnected or is no longer in service.
Roadkill robots in the real politic of machine dreams right here on They Might Be Self-Aware. I am Hunter Powers, joined by the real politic himself, Daniel
Bishop.
Bishop.
The one, the only. There's actually a whole bunch of Daniel Bishops out there, but I am one of the only Daniel Bishops, one of 100 or so that I was able to find back in the Facebook days when there was a group for everything.
The only other Hunter Powers that I know is the Brazilian DJ, who, again, because they're his fans, occasionally reach out. And
you do any DJing? We talk a lot about AI giving people access to skills that they wouldn't have otherwise had. Have you considered using generative AI to be a better DJ?
I did sign up for the VR DJ camp, which you can find on the Meta Quest, and then was paying that monthly fee for a very long time because I'm very bad at canceling these things until finally I was like, what is
That's
this?
how they get you.
$8 a month on it's my DJ camp, in my VR DJ camp, which I think I did one time.
I was going to say, did you at least ever attend it?
I did for a whole 10 minutes, which only cost me $700. And I still can't DJ.
That is a terrible shame. Well, I suppose you could always, VR, great. Generative AI, that's where the real magic happens, I think.
Well, I have a new purchase that I'm eyeing. I got my eye on.
Is it VR or is it AI or is it somehow
It's a
both?
combination, actually. A little bit of both. All the technologies collide. There's two options when purchasing it. You can either pay $500 a month, and just every month $500, or a one-time fee of $20,000. And if you go with the $20,000 option, you get priority delivery.
That sounds like a real steal.
Priority delivery. Yeah.
What is the thing that only costs $20,000?
Well, it's available for pre-order today. Shipping.
Okay, cool. So it doesn't exist.
Shipping sometime next year, according to the website.
So far, so good.
This is the Neo Home Robot. This is the latest humanoid home robot assistant. A couple companies are going after this, right? You've got Tesla has their Optimus. You've got the Figure robot, which this was the stoned people putting away the groceries. I believe that was their video.
Right.
But you can't order those yet. You can actually order the Neo, although you can. I can't even say it with a straight face. You can pre-order the Neo, but they are showing it off. So this is a humanoid robot where it's 99% of what it's made to do are tasks around your house. It can put away your laundry. It can do your laundry, fold it up. It can do your dishes. Wash the dishes, put the dishes up.
You keep saying can. The modal verb can implies that there is an actual existing ability to do something.
Yeah,
you can't even buy it, let alone. They're saying that when it shows up, which will happen next year for sure, it will be able to do those things.
So they've started.
You're giving them a lot of credit for a thing
They've started to show it off. A little bit. And I guess Joanna Stern, who's a really famous journalist, she's covered a lot of Apple stuff, a lot of technology, works for the Wall Street Journal. She got a kind of insider's, day in the life with them, where she had it demonstrate many of the things that they show it doing in its promo video. And while it was incredibly slow and incredibly awkward completing these tasks, including opening the door for someone, doing the dishes, cleaning up, I think it did the Macarena at one point,
obviously that's a household chore that
for $20,000 every day. You better be able to do the Macarena. So $20,000 is a heck of a lot of money, but potentially if every day you have a robot working hours for you in your house.
Yeah, we discussed on this very podcast a bunch of episodes ago that $100,000 didn't seem that unreasonable for a thing that you own that can just do all the stuff around the house for you until it breaks, I guess. And there's probably a warranty, I'm sure. 20,000. I was so ready to make fun of you and be like, Hunter signed up for some other wacky thing. No, even the monthly $500 a month. If you just have, and I know this because at the previous house that I had, once a month, some folks would come in and they'd mop the floors and clean the whatever's.
What, 150, 200?
Yeah, $200 a month or $200 a visit, and they try and you should definitely come out every 2 weeks. I'm like, let's pump the brakes just a bit. Once a month's fine. But to have that as basically every day, you can do this at the speed of a Roomba having been plugged in and charging overnight to if it was literally just wash the dishes.
Yeah,
I'd pay that $500 a month. I hate doing the dishes, and I would absolutely sign up if it was doing the dishes and folding and putting away laundry. If it was just those two things, I am so incredibly sold. That alone would be worth it. The caveat is it doesn't actually exist, and you're just
that's not the caveat.
There's a different.
there's another caveat. So you can watch the beautiful promo video of this AI enabled robot completing all these tasks, but there's one little detail which they hint at, but they don't directly say in the video. However, Joanna, they did disclose it fully to Joanna Stern, and that is that for 99.9999999% of tasks that it completes, there is no AI. It's a guy wearing a MetaQuest with his two controllers remotely piloting the robot through your house to do these tasks.
So it's a domestic servant wearing a robot sort of telepresence suit.
Yes.
I don't feel as good about it anymore, but for a variety of complicated reasons.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people in a lot of portions of the world that make a lot less than $500 a month. I'm not going to say that if you're paying that $500 a month subscription, that was all going to go to someone in the Philippines or whatever who's doing your dishes remotely. But is this just exploitation of people who make very little money elsewhere? Or is this giving an opportunity, albeit not for a US salaried amount of money, whatever, to people that otherwise wouldn't have had access to something, even that level of income?
Well, that's not really their business model, at least as they present it.
Well, they present it as a friggin' robot.
They need the training data. So conceptually, over time, as they learn how to complete these tasks, it's generating the training data. Hey, how do I put away the dishes? And I've done this many times, and then they can train that on the cloud.
Seen 1,000 people do it 10,000 times.
Then the teleoperator, I guess is the correct term, turns into a cloud operator, and then that turns into on device. Or they don't know. They just don't have the data yet. And I actually suspect that they're subsidizing that $20,000 cost. It feels like maybe it's a little bit too low, especially when you consider there's a full-time human working for you.
I do think those full-time humans are not going to be being paid, good US salaries, shall we say. I'm thinking this is take workers in Philippines, India,
maybe just going to need very low latency
countries. Okay, Mexico. But you're right, latency does have something to do with it. You don't want someone who, you already said the robots are slow. I don't want a robot running around my house, frankly. Even if it could, I don't want a robot that's like sprinting around getting things done as fast as a robot possibly could. Let's walk around like people do. Let's go at a normal speed. I want you bowling me over while I'm trying to make a bolognese or something like that.
But I like this idea, which I don't know why I hadn't really thought about it before, but this idea that you purchase this robot suit that then all different types of professionals can remote into. Oh, I need a plumber today. Oh, I need a cleaner today. Oh, I need a chef to come in and cook today. But it's all just, there's a service, you go in, oh yeah, come in, I'll hire you. And even if it's like an open platform.
Are they trying to sell it like that?
No.
They're saying it's just AI. A robot that does.
I'm just saying this idea of having this robot suit.
Yeah, it's a blank suit, and you can just like warg in a chef or warg in a plumber. That is a very interesting idea. I really think that there might be something to that.
It could be like a real part of the future, right? Oh, yeah, my lawn needs to be cut again. Yeah, there's an open market. Train an AI model, or it's a human. Why do I actually care as long as it does a good job?
Doesn't even need AI, frankly. Robots as telepresence operators for things, I think, is a fantastic idea. We've already seen little iterations toward that in like the medical industry. This is the one that I keep hearing about. I've been hearing about it for like a decade plus of some doctor in purposely faraway country used a telepresence robot to do a surgery on someone in other farther away country. And yeah, being able to take expertise that doesn't want to or can't make its way to your house or apartment or whatever, and then do a thing. Sure. When I keep saying how I want to put child miners out of work, maybe instead of them having to go actually mine the cobalt themselves, they get to play video games of mining the cobalt. Is that better? I think it is, because like you're not putting the children into like physically dangerous sort of situations. So there might still, listeners, I don't think this is problem free. I think there are still issues, and you could talk about like people getting a living wage and whatever. But honestly, this does kind of feel like a step in a right direction. And with the training data angle, Tesla has been doing this forever. Waymo, they're only in a few places can they only very recently start doing actually driverless drives. Driverless drives. And that's after collecting tons and tons and tons and tons of data themselves. And they're still making mistakes, and there's still weird edge cases and so on. But humanoid robots are coming, like for sure. Of course, you're literally talking about one that you can totally pre-order right now. And it does make sense that it wouldn't necessarily have everything right off the bat. But instead of a person standing next to it, holding its arms and moving it for it, it's a guy with some VR headset and Quest control. Yeah.
I like this idea of having a teleoperated robot that different.
This is how you get that amount of data. And I know that NVIDIA has some sort of like world model where you can have your AI agents in a physics adhering to world and so on. They can kind of learn that way. Sure, I guess, but what better way to learn than by watching people do it? Well, you let me know how it turns out, and if it'll do my dishes and my laundry, I guess. But since I know that there's going to be somebody who's watching through those cameras, I don't know if they want to see all my hearts boxers or whatever.
From the security standpoint, so two interesting features. One, it blurs out faces. So the teleoperator can't see the human that is in the house.
Right.
I don't know if it blurs out other body parts, but the face has been determined. We can't look at that. The second thing is you're in the software, you can define rooms that it's not allowed to go into. So the teleoperator, even if they try to go in there, in theory, the software will be like, no, you
this is some real RoboCop type stuff here. You keep flip-flopping me between being against it and being for it, and I'm stuck somewhere sort of in the middle. I'll keep it in the kitchen. It can do the dishes. Yeah.
All right. I don't know. Maybe you'll start thinking about it sort of as your AI child. What do you think about that, Daniel?
And
it's not a loaded question.
Yeah, that was one of our better segues, I think. I don't like the idea of an AI child. Just like the word child is what makes it feel weird and bad and icky to me.
So if this was a child robot doing your dishes, you'd feel like really bad about it. But it's 5'6", so you're okay.
We know that the operator somewhere else is at least, 5 feet tall, but the robot's only 3.5 feet tall, and it does talk in a higher voice. Don't care for that. That doesn't sound great. I like the idea of it's an AI assistant, not even for the robot, for just like anything in general. The, Claude, it's helping me code, whatever. I think, well, shoot, I'd never given it any thought until just now, but now I am giving it some thought. How old would you say, before we get into the child thing that you're describing, how old is Claude? And I don't mean how many years has like the service been around. I mean, like if you took the personality, the concept, or GPT-5 or the Mistral AI or whatever, like any of those, do you imagine them as adults basically, or do you imagine it as like this entity that can do a great job coding and can use these tools and talk to me about history and so on? Well, that's obviously a 6-year-old. Like they don't write like 6-year-olds. To me, the discussions that I have lead me to believe that this is a quote unquote adult intelligence, if you were to ascribe a human age to it.
Yeah, my quick answer is that I see it as being the same age as me, and so I wonder if that's just like the degree to which you see AI as a reflection of you, which to some degree it's trying to do.
Right. Yeah. Interesting. Because, I certainly don't see AI as an elderly person. I don't see it as a child. I guess I sort of imagine it as like a peer of mine that's probably within a few years of my own age.
But I wonder, like, if you have your kids prompt the AI, does it respond back speaking and structuring it like a kid? Like, no.
So my kid has asked Google about multiple things at this point, which, hey, that's the next generation. And because it's just doing like speech to text. And so it just gets the text of a question and answers it like it would to me. And the only like other version of this I've had is sometimes they'll say, hey, answer as if to a 3-year-old.
Okay.
Question.
Eli 5.
And then it responds like an adult, turning things into a format that a younger child would understand. I've never tried answer this as if you are 3 years old. And I'm absolutely going to do that after this podcast. And it's probably going to skeeve me out, but, for science.
Well, potentially you would be in good company with Albania's Prime Minister, Edi Rama, who has announced the world first AI government minister is going to have 83 AI children.
This is one of the weirdest things that I've read in a really long time. And I see a lot of weird stuff.
Why are you reading Times of India, by the way, which is where this article came from? Or was it linked somewhere?
It was in my Google feed. Google's like, this guy looks at a bunch of weird AI stuff. I got one for you. And boy. So, yeah, the Albanese, which is not the something NIM. I don't remember the word for that, but like the name for a group of people. Albanese PM, Edi Rama, has announced the world's first AI government minister. Cool. At this point of having read, I'm like, that sounds really neat. I'm into this. We've talked about like AI in government before. It's not going to go right. It's a question of how wrong it will go, but like good for them for trying. And hopefully it has
have you looked at the U.S. government recently? Yeah. Are we still shut down?
Yeah.
How long? It's been
as
a while.
of recording, we are still
shut down. It's been a
shut
while.
Down.
A couple days.
Maybe we do put the AI in charge. So far, having read that, I'm like, this is a very interesting experiment. I can't wait to see how this turns out. And then announces that we'll have 83 AI children. And I think my eyes just sort of popped out of my head and rolled around on the floor there. Okay, so they're making one AI, and by making one AI, it's probably a bunch of prompts, maybe a fine tune on top of like an existing large language model. Great. Still no problems with that. Having variants of that to be like, we took this one and then gave it a bunch of specific other finance department instructions. And so it's like better tuned to the use cases of a different like part of the government. Awesome. Absolutely on board with that. To to call that an AI child of the original one feels so weird and wrong to me, even if I guess you could kind of say like, well, there is a traceable lineage back to like this original instantiation. Okay. But then it got weirder because it's not just that it's going to have AI children. Eddie's good old Eddie is like, hey, the AI minister is pregnant with 83 AI children, and my skin crawled, and I'm just like, no, we don't talk about these things this way. There's a lot of personification of AI out there. People like to personify anything. We've talked about, the pet rock and whatever. Of course, we ascribe human emotions, and people are seeing sentience where arguably there isn't or is. But saying that it's pregnant with 83 children is just so far past that. Man, I can't get on board with it. I'm so skeeved out by it. No, thank you.
These conversations and relationships with AI characters or AI models or AI instances. I don't know the best term here.
Right.
We've been talking about this for a while, and we've talked about character AI in the past because they've had some very unfortunate incidents happening with children interacting with them, and they've now actually come out and banned users under 18. And I know there's some senators now trying to pass legislation to ban conversing with AI models until you're over 19.
I'm sure that'll work for sure. It's definitely a flawless plan. And all you're going to have to do is upload your ID and whatever to every website they log into. Anything that even has a like, hey, I'm the digital assistant. Can I help you? I do need to know if you're over 18.
That is so the
give us all of your information. Conspiracy, nothing.
Angle on this?
No. I'm not even touching the conspiracy angle of it. I had
my tinfoil hat, but I'll leave it
sure. Like, by all means, you can go down that route. I'm going down a different route here.
Okay.
Whenever, like, suppose that these things do pass and whatever side of the political fence you're on, sure, great, fine, whatever. Well, maybe not great, fine, or whatever. But I'm not touching on that right now. Instead, I have been part of like 5+ major breaches of security for like, I used to work for the government a long time ago. And so there was the Office of Personnel Management, huge leak. People have my fingerprints and my like people to contact at 10 places I used to live at, like so incredibly breached. And then there's Equifax, and there's this and there's that. Like, if you're going to have to prove that you're over 18 on every friggin' website that's got an AI, that's more and more potential security breaches, that's more privacy concerns. As much as I want us to be moving toward an embracing of these different kinds of tools, I do also want a future in which there is some shred of it's not even like anonymity online, though it is. It's also like we should be able to preserve our own privacy to a degree. And it's another thing that's even harder to do that, not just to one website, but to inevitably everybody after it leaks. And I don't feel great about that. I realize this is like a completely ancillary thing to character AI saying we're going to ban minors from doing AI chats. Sure, a lot of people say don't use social media whenever you're under X age.
It seems that
I get it.
The concern about minors engaging in these conversations with AI, there's sort of like two parts. Mm-hmm. One is the material that they may discuss being inappropriate. But then the other one, which I think is actually the bigger concern, not the like, they'll find, have some sort of inappropriate conversation with this artificial being. It's that they will form an unhealthy relationship with this technology in place of humans. From what I gather, listening to these conversations, that is actually the primary concern, that if kids are given unlimited access to the ultimate bestest friend who always agrees with them and is always there to entertain them, then will they go out in the real world and establish real connections, or will it, bastardize their development?
I think the answer is no, just because this is a unoptimized version of an experiment that's already been done. The experiment being what happens, and this has been done with rats and also with, I think, at least one person, if we put some like nodes, whatever, into their head that can directly stimulate the pleasure center of the brain. You can press the button and you're just as happy as can be. It's 100% maxed out.
I think there was a Woody Allen movie about that.
Sure. But like this experiment has actually been done in real life. I know it's been done on rats. I'm pretty sure it's done on like at least one person. They had to say, you have to stop. Because the rats would just be like, I'll be happy till I die. I won't drink. I won't eat. I won't go socialize with other rats. I won't whatever. And like the more that TV becomes engaging, the more that social media is designed to make you keep scrolling and not do something else, the more that a large language model can be like, I'll be your personal conversational assistant forever. I think inadvertently we are making a poor version of the press button, become happy until you forget to eat, sleep, bathe, drink, and then you keel over dead. Obviously, it's not quite the same thing, but imagine a 15% reduction in people being willing to like go out and interact with other people or something. You could say, sure, there's economic disruption as a result, or just society as a whole probably suffers. Is that a Luddite sort of view? I don't think so. I think that it is going to be a bigger problem over time. People getting more and more reliant on these sycophantic AI models and not interacting with real people as a result. And also then becoming less able to have non-sycophantic conversations with people. Anyone who disagrees, you might take it more personally.
I had, at least odd for me, experience recently. I was in my Tesla and I was having a conversation with Grok, which is integrated in with the car. Just press the button on the steering wheel, Grok comes up. And it was the first time I was having just like a real conversation with it about like something I wanted to talk about. I was talking about AI and pinball, if you want to know the topic. But
okay.
Grok was terribly knowledgeable about all the recent events, the controversies that have gone on, the things that happened last week. What did you think about this? Oh, you know what? Here's what I was thinking at this angle. Grok would come back and like there was discourse going on. Mm-hmm. And the conversation probably went on about 20 minutes as I was driving somewhere. And at the end of it, I had this feeling, it's like, that was actually like a really good conversation. Like that, I feel like I just had a really good conversation with someone that was like, it was engaging, it was informative, there was back and forth. They knew everything I knew plus more. I mean, right. there was a correlation like between that and like the conversations that we have here, because you and I follow a lot of the same stuff. So when we talk, it's like, oh yeah, I know about that. Here's what I've been thinking, what you've been thinking. And it was the first time I got that feeling where there was something weird about it, where it felt like a human conversation. It didn't feel like I was having a conversation with technology. Where
I feel
when
like you're saying that you're about to try and automate me out of the podcast. Is that the conversation?
Is that the subtle hint?
Yeah.
This is the subtle hint.
For one episode only, we're going to have Hunter talk to Grok. Hey, why hasn't Daniel been back on the podcast in a while?
Driving around in his Tesla. But by the way, it probably would be a good podcast. A dude just driving around in his Tesla.
I'd listen to it if only to pine for the good old days where I got to talk to
you. No, but it felt a little wrong. Something about it felt a little wrong. That like you were a little less human now that you were having a human connection. For whatever reason, writing code doesn't feel human to me. That just feels like technology. Even when I'm using it to polish a piece of writing, yeah, but I've given you a task and I understand what you're doing. But when we're effectively equals, just going back and forth and chatting it up, something about that, and it's
speech.
The delay, there's still delay. It's not quite real time, but besides that, it was pretty darn good.
When it comes to communication, text is not as rich a medium as speech is, which is not as rich a medium as being able to see someone. So like, I think a video call, you're going to be able to get more micro expressions and get more of like the person's actual feelings and mind state and whatever based on that, compared to a phone call, compared to like an email, for example. And then, of course, a person-to-person meeting being the fullest extent of communication between people. You are interacting with these models in a way that is closer and a richer experience to like what the actual human-to-human, face-to-face sort of mode of expression is. And these speech models aren't just a flat, like Stephen Hawking level, like super robotic voice. We're starting to get emotional inflection. Depending on which model is being used, you can actually put in like tags of this is the emotion that I want you to be conveying during this like next sentence, which is, I think, really cool. A little scary at times, but definitely very cool. And so if you're going to be having a conversation with Grok and it can, quote unquote, read between the lines of when you speak, that's turning into text, and then it reads that and it probably has whatever information that's already stored about you and the kinds of conversations you've had and the conversation you're currently having, and it can infer, correctly or otherwise, what sort of emotional state to be interacting with you back on, and then respond along those lines. And that's just going to keep getting better and better, which isn't the same as talking to a person, for better or for worse. You're going to have that well-informed thing that perfectly knows how to sort of mirror the vibe of whatever you've been discussing so far.
It's all about the
as
vibes.
Opposed to a person who might be half checked out of the conversation, or they don't know as much about the thing as you, or a million other ways that you couldn't be getting that full Grok experience.
Yeah. There is in the car, the you can turn on the flirting mode. That is a mode. Maybe I'll do a podcast about that at some point.
It's just you and a robot flirting for a half hour, making every listener super uncomfortable.
Well, Daniel, if people want to see the episode of Hunter flirting for 30 minutes with his robot, how might they find out about such a thing? Is there any notification mechanism that's yet to be invented?
They could find out how self-aware Hunter is at the end of that conversation by looking us up on YouTube or Spotify or Apple Podcasts or anywhere where podcasts are sold and or given out on the streets. Maybe there's some guy with a mixtape of they might be self-aware. Exactly. You can subscribe to us on any of those platforms. That's a good way to be notified when there's more.
Are you, sorry, random question. Are you a selective subscriber, or are you I kind of like subscribe to anything? Or do you narrowly control your feed, or do you like too much feed and then?
No, so it'll balloon out a little bit, and then once or twice a year, I'll say I'm not listening to this anymore, or I haven't talked to that friend on Facebook in 5 years. It's time to drop. Yeah, right. So I absolutely trim it back. Literally the other day, I was like removing people who I haven't talked to in years off of Facebook. I'm never going to see that person again.
You're gone. But all you listeners out there, you're here, and we love you. We love you. You are all our AI children. And if you want to find out what happens next, you know what to do, because we will be right here with another episode of...
They might be self-aware.